Hey Fanny Queens, welcome back to the channel where I, Sarah, are going to take you through how to navigate your endometriosis surgery follow-up appointment, some top tips and what questions to ask. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional. Everything I talk about on this channel is through my own experience and everything that I have learned. I do also have a free of charge ebook specifically for your follow-up appointment. This is the one that you need to be looking for. You can download that ebook on the Fanny Diaries website, which is www.fannydiaries.com, and it's always free of charge, so go ahead and give that a cheeky download. For anyone who's had surgery and endometriosis wasn't found, stay tuned for that video and ebook soon. Let's get into the video. Yeah, baby, woo! Follow-up appointments and after surgery recovery generally in itself can be exhausting and intense to navigate because there's so much information that you need to take in. You don't want to forget questions to ask, so my advice would be to start listing questions in the notes app in your phone or write them down on a notepad. Anytime you think of a question, just get them jotted down so you don't forget it. So you know exactly what to ask and you go into the appointment feeling prepared and not stressed and not feeling like you're going to miss anything, because that is the worst thing. When you come away and you're like, oh, I could have asked that. Oh, I should have asked that. Oh, that would have been a good question. If you don't have a follow-up appointment, not everyone does, which I think is so terrible. Some people are offered a follow-up appointment over the phone. Some people are offered a follow-up appointment with a nurse and not their surgeon. Some people are not offered a follow-up appointment at all. But if you don't have one and you would like one, I do have a letter/email sample request in the ebook, which you can send to your surgeon secretary, you can send to your surgeon's team, you can send to your hospital and try and get one arranged if you want one. Because you know what? You deserve the best of the best, and you deserve to have the best care and to be the best advocate for yourself and to always fight for your Fanny, okay? I just have a few reminders for you. You did not cause this. You deserve all the love. This is not your fault. Resting doesn't make you lazy. It's essential. You are still worthy. It's okay to ask for help. This one, I'm still working on myself. I never asked for help, so maybe we could do that together. You are enough just as you are right now. You are not an inconvenience, a failure, or a burden. You are so much more than your endometriosis. Endometriosis is a part of you. It's not the whole you, and it doesn't define you. Let's go through some top tips on how to navigate your follow-up appointment. Take a notepad and pen so you can write your notes down. Or if you're a tech girly and you prefer to just write it in your phone, then you obviously don't need a notepad and pen. I'm an old-fashioned girly. I think it's because I'm a millennial. I love a good notepad and pen. The other option, and it's also worth asking, if you can record the conversation and be able to play it back at a later time so you don't forget anything. This may or may not be allowed. Obviously, it just depends on each individual circumstance and situation. So still take a notepad and pen or be prepared to write notes on your phone. Try and remain calm. This is easier said than done. There's a lot to take in. It can be very overwhelming. It can be very intense. So try and stay calm and be kind to yourself, okay? Because it's a lot. It's a lot to process sometimes. If you prefer not to go alone, then you can take someone with you that you trust if you feel comfortable to do so. Sometimes it's nice having somebody there who can also listen. So if you forget anything, you can ask them and they can be like, yeah, they said this. No, they didn't say that. Treat yourself to something fun to do after. After a medical appointment, I always go and get chocolate cake and some strawberries, but not always the strawberries actually, just a slice of chocolate cake. But you know what, maybe the whole cake because we have free will. But it's like my own personal little traditional ritual thing that I do. Treat yourself something fun after. Whether that's going to watch a movie or going to see a friend or buying a whole cake, it will give you something to look forward to and also take your mind off it when you've left the appointment, and you can just de-stress and just forget about it for a little while and have some fun. Fun, baby. You don't have to ask all these questions, by the way. Please don't feel like you have to go in with this massive list. These are just questions that you could ask that might be helpful for you. Some questions that I wish I had asked. Everyone's circumstances are so different as well, so some of these questions might not apply to your own situation. If you also have any questions that I haven't covered in this video that you think would be useful for people to ask, please comment them below so everything's all in one place and people can have a read. That would be amazing. I was just too mortified from telling my surgeon that I loved him that I needed to be in and out so quick that I didn't even think about asking half these questions. So I hope this is helpful to you. Not only is this interesting to know where they found it in your body, but it's also really important to ask this because it's going to give you the idea if they checked everywhere or if they just checked within the pelvic cavity. You will also probably be able to match it up to your symptoms. So for me, endometriosis was found on the outside of my left ovary, which made so much sense because I had the worst left ovary pain. Like I genuinely constantly would think that it was just going to rip out my body. It was so painful. So that made sense to me. And also the pouch of Douglas and the rectum. I'm pretty sure every, if not most videos of mine have the word rectum in them. Yeah, I think I just won't stop shouting about rectal endometriosis because it's so important. For those of you who don't know, I didn't know, there are two different techniques when it comes to removing endometriosis lesions. There's ablation and excision. I do cover it in a few videos, so I won't cover it in this one, and I will do a separate video just on that alone. But basically, excision is classed as the gold standard amongst specialists. As well as with excision, they cut the lesion out and send it off for testing. So they send it off for a pathology report to confirm the presence of endometriosis. With ablation, it just kind of burns the top of the lesion and you're relying on the surgeon's naked eye to identify that is 100% endometriosis. So you're looking for excision ideally, but not every surgeon performs excision. So this is an important question to ask as well because it gives you the idea of if there was anything left behind, which you would need to know. Endometriosis left behind after surgery can happen. It is kind of like a common thing, but it's important to know where it was, why it was, the severity of it, and what the plan is moving forward. For example, it could have been left on the bladder or the bowel. So moving forward, you may require another surgery, but that should be with a multidisciplinary team and hopefully have a bowel or a bladder surgeon present. For me, they told me they shaved endometriosis from my bowel. There was some left behind, so I know that. Do I ignore it? Yeah. The whole system's so messed up. Don't even get me started on that because that's a different conversation, but it is important to know if any was left behind, where it was, and it's definitely a question that I would be asking. And it's a question that I wish I had asked in more detail, but I don't know the severity, I don't know whereabouts, I don't know anything. So I wish that this is a question I'd have had a conversation with my surgeon about. Not everyone's endometriosis progresses the same, but it can progress and it can cause complications in the future. So it's important to know where it was left behind, why, so that you know. As we all know, endometriosis is an all-over body disease. It can affect more than just the reproductive organs. So it's not just in the pelvic cavity. It can be found outside that on other organs. So this is also an important question to ask because we want to know, did they check elsewhere? Did they check the chest cavity for thoracic endo? Did they check the bowel? Did they check the bladder? Did they check the pouch of Douglas? Did they check the rectum? Here she goes again. Sadly, it's not a common practice for surgeons to check elsewhere in the body. I feel it should be standard. Why is it not a standard thing for surgeons to do with endometriosis? Many surgeons are just trained to look at the reproductive organs and not elsewhere in the body. And that's why it's so frustrating that it's still just recognised as a menstrual disease because it's not. It can affect the whole body. Also time. It obviously takes time to check elsewhere in someone's body. They might not have the time allocated to do that. So there's a lot of different factors why it doesn't happen, but definitely check with your surgeon and see what they did. This question tells you how thorough your surgery was and how thorough your surgeon was. Endometriosis doesn't always look typical. Endometriosis lesions can be red, they can be clear, they can be blue, they can be black. Surgeons with limited training may only remove the classic powder burn lesions, which can obviously then leave active disease behind. I will insert some photos so you can see what it all looks like. Here I've zoomed in and circled the clear endometriosis lesions, which are next to the powder burn lesions. To the naked eye, it looks like nothing is there, but obviously there is something there. Not all disease is visible to the untrained eye. Subtle or microscopic endometriosis may still cause significant pain or symptoms. Sometimes a highly skilled endometriosis excision surgeon will remove tissue that looks suspicious. Why can't I not say that word? Suspicious. Even if it doesn't scream endometriosis. Obviously, everyone's situation is so different. This might not apply apply for everyone. It comes down to a case-by-case basis. If only the typical looking lesions were removed, then there's no way to know that any of that abnormal tissue was not endometriosis, as it wouldn't be excised and sent off for testing. Which leads us into our next question. This is also a really important question to ask, because it's important to know if they took any biopsies and sent them off for testing, so you can 100% confirm the presence of endometriosis. Without any biopsies being taken, you're just relying on the surgeon and the naked eye of the surgeon to confirm that the abnormal tissue is endometriosis. It could be endometriosis, but it could also be something else. Obviously, it's more beneficial to have biopsies taken and sent off for testing. However, not everyone has biopsies taken during their surgery, so this might not apply to you, but it's worth asking to see if they took biopsies or if they didn't, if they sent anything off for testing and what the results were, and if you could have a copy of the results. There are currently 4 stages of endometriosis, stage 1 being minimal and stage 4 being the most severe. And the stages of endometriosis gives you a general idea of the extent of the disease. However, and a big however, the stages don't correlate the pain and the symptoms. So you could have stage 1 but be in horrendous amount of pain. You could have stage 4 and not suffer as much as the person with stage 1. I don't know in what stage I am. I didn't know there were stages before my surgery. I didn't ask. I still don't have a clue where on the stage categories I fall into. It became like such a common question when people would be like, what stage are you? What stage are you? What stage are you? And I'd be like, I don't know. I didn't even know there was a stage. The staging is based on the size and number of lesions, the depth of invasion, the presence of ovarian endometriomas, and the presence of severity of adhesions. I'll put a little screenshot here of the stages classified by the American Society of Reproductive Medicine. All of our experiences matter, no matter what anyone says, no matter what any medical professional, no matter what any number scaling system says. Obviously, it might be helpful to find out what stage you are, so I should probably find out what stage I am. Yeah. I'm not sure if I imagined this or if I dreamt it or heard someone talk about it. I don't know. Obviously, I will absolutely not be spreading any misinformation, but I'm sure I saw something about stage 5 or I dreamt it. I probably dreamt it. So, you know what? According to my dreams, maybe there'll be stage 5 in the future. But no, not right now. Did you find any adhesions, fibroids, or polyps? Asking this question helps you be informed on the findings of everything during your surgery, not just endometriosis. They often get overlooked, so it is important to know if there was any other findings during your surgery. I had never even heard of adhesions before my surgery. I didn't even know they were a thing. But what I do know is I had adhesions that were fused my ovary to my bowel that had to be surgically removed from each other. Oftentimes, these additional findings can contribute to your symptoms. I was having a lot of symptoms due to my ovary being stuck to my bowel, so that's also important to know if they found any adhesions during your surgery. Fun times. Adenomyosis can coexist with endometriosis, but it's often missed or underdiagnosed. It's not always easy to spot the signs during surgery, but it's worth an ask. Again, this is something else that I had no idea existed. Adenomyosis. What is that? Why are we not taught this at school? Why did I not find this out until I started an Instagram page? Hello? If they do suspect adenomyosis, then you could also ask them to refer you for an MRI or any scans and a follow-up appointment to explore that further. Or ask them their opinion and where you go from there. What's the plan moving forward of how you explore that avenue to find out if you have adenomyosis or not. Obviously, you might not. I don't have adenomyosis as far as I'm aware, but again, this isn't a question that I asked in my follow-up because I was not aware of it. I had no idea that it even existed. So that's something else that I wish I'd have asked because symptoms can overlap. Ovarian health is obviously super important, and during your surgery, your surgeon should hopefully check that your ovaries are in the normal position and not like mine were that got stuck to my bowel through adhesions. Ovaries can sometimes get pulled and stuck and binded to other organs. Sometimes there could be ovarian cysts or endometriomas, which are chocolate cysts, so that's worth asking and looking out for. You could ask if there's any scarring or damage that could affect ovulation, whether blood supply to the ovaries looks normal. I mentioned earlier that they told me I had endometriosis on the outside of my left ovary, which made sense for me because of my pain levels. And I've just remembered I had really horrendous pain during ovulation, which makes so much sense. Oh, the joys. Did you do any other tests during my surgery, such as a hysteroscopy? I can't do with these big medical words. Sometimes other procedures can be done at the same time as your surgical procedure, but we're not always told about them, especially if they're standard procedures. During my surgery, I do know I had a hysteroscopy done, and I also had my fallopian tubes filled with dye or flushed out. That is what I remember him saying to me during my follow-up. Hysteroscopy is where they put a small camera through the cervix to examine inside of the uterus. I don't know why I'm doing this. Sexy. Asking these questions ensures that you have the complete picture of your health and what was done during your surgery. It's obviously handy to know if anything else was done, like any other procedures. There are other tests such as the tubal dye test to check that the fallopian tubes are functioning. That's what I just spoke about. That's what I had done. There's swabs that can be done. There's biopsies that can be taken. So it's definitely worth just checking to see what was done or if nothing was done, and then you can go from there and you can figure out what was done. And that way as well, like if things weren't done and you're still having issues in the future, then you know that you can go for those tests further down the line because they weren't done during your surgery. Surgical photos are not always taken during surgery. It should be an actual requirement that we get photos or videos taken and then we can have them if we want them. I do not have any. I didn't think to ask because I didn't know they were a thing. I was never given any. I didn't even know if they took any. I wasn't told. I didn't find out that people were getting photos and videos taken from their surgeries until I created the Instagram account. Do you see the running pattern here? It would have made my life easier because I could have taken those to a specialist, or I could have taken them to someone else, had a second opinion if they didn't find any endometriosis, or they took pictures of the endometriosis on my bowel. I could then go to a bowel specialist and be like, this is what it looked like, what do we do from here? Photos and videos give you visual evidence of what was done. They'd be able to point out what the endometriosis looked like, how they removed it, and then you always have them. And if you need a second opinion, or if in the future your symptoms return, then you can go with your full surgery report and take your photos. You can go to a specialist, you can take your videos, and it's such a valuable thing to have behind you from your surgery. So I hope you get them, or I hope they took some for you. I'm sure every country, every hospital is completely different on this one. This is something that I wish I'd have known about in advance because, no way, I need to tell you the story because it's so bad. It took me so long to get some kind of information, right? So my surgeon sent a document to my doctor. So I had this document already. I go to my surgeon secretary and I'm like, hey, please can I request my medical notes? You're likely going to have to sign some forms. You might have to pay for the postage. You have to release the data that you authorize them to do it because it's medical records. So you have to do the process yourself. So they were like, oh, you need to go to the hospital that you had your surgery done. So I went to the hospital, got put through to this department, and they were like, yeah, no worries. We'll email you some forms and you need to sign and send them back to me. I actually think she was going to post them, but because I was in America at the time and this was in England, she did email me them. So I signed all the forms and I scanned them back and I sent them to her, and then she posted it to my mum. Then I flew to England, not specifically for these forms, by the way. I'm not rich. I was going there anyway. So I flew and I picked up this envelope and I flew it back to America with me. And I put it in my cupboard because I was not strong enough at all to open this document. It sat in my cupboard for about, I want to say like 6 months. One day I was like, you know what, Sarah, we've got the courage to open this. And if you're going to start a YouTube channel and talk about it, then, you know, we need to open it up. So I sat down and I was like, got myself in the mindset and I was like, yeah, let's open this up. I opened it up and it's exactly the forms that were sent to my doctor. So there's no new findings. I have no clue what was done. There's nothing about anything. Great. So now I'm back to square one. So this is my advice to you. Start this process as early as you can. Ask your surgeon secretary, ask maybe in the follow-up, get ahead of it, like call the hospital that you had your surgery in and ask them how you get access to your surgery notes. They should hopefully give you, or you may be able to get access to the following documents. This is not a given, by the way. It obviously depends on where you live, what you've had done, what hospital, etc. So this is just a general thing. There should be an operative report, which is a main surgical summary, a pathology report. So if the tissue was sent for a biopsy, that would be that, an anesthesia record, photos and videos, hysteroscopy or other procedure notes, discharge summary and nursing notes, which are usually optional but can obviously be helpful. Did you use an adhesion barrier? Again, no clue what this even meant. Didn't even know it was a thing. But obviously we've spoken a bit earlier about adhesions and how adhesions can bind your organs together and they can also have symptoms. Adhesions can also be common after surgery, which again, I didn't know. But not all surgeons use an adhesion barrier. And there's also different ones. So I did do a bit of research on this because I obviously want to present the correct information. I'm nervous about putting this in because unless I'm 100% sure of something, I don't usually talk about it. This is the research that I have found. I have my trusty iPad, so we're going to read this together, okay? So there is Seprafilm, which is a thin sheet placed between tissues. Intercede, which is an absorbable fabric-like barrier. Adept, which is solution used to rinse and flow organs apart. What? What? Hyalo barrier or endobarrier gel, which are gel-based barriers. They say every day is a school day. We learn something new on this Fanny Queen channel. Those are some types of the adhesion barriers. Not every surgeon uses them. I don't have a clue if I had one used. Not a clue. Didn't even know they were a thing. I thought I would mention it so you could see. I'm not sure if there's any difference in using one without using one. That's something that I need to look into or ask a specialist. So once I know that question, I'll get back to you. There may have been complications during your surgery that they may not tell you unless you ask. And those include bleeding, injury to nearby organs like the bowel or bladder, anesthesia reactions, difficulty accessing certain areas due to adhesions, unexpected findings that made surgery more complex. These may not be mentioned or they could be in your operative report and not explained in full detail. So it is worth asking so that you can get the whole picture of what was done during your surgery. This is self-explanatory really, and it comes down to each individual person on a case-by-case basis. So they should be able to advise the next steps for you to take moving forward, if they're going to put you on a treatment plan, what that entails, what it all looks like, and they'll be able to give you all the details on that. Hopefully they will. They should do. With endometriosis, it's not a one-size-fits-all, sadly. I mean, imagine if it was, that would be so great. What works for you might not work for somebody else. They might suggest treatment options that might not work for you, but they also might. It's a very challenging process, but they'll be able to explain what they suggest, why they suggest it, and they'll be able to tailor it to your specific needs and your case. Some people want to try hormonal options. Some people don't want to try hormonal options. Some people benefit from pelvic floor therapy, from diet changes, lifestyle changes, pain management, or a watch and wait approach. I chose the watch and wait approach. So you just wait and see how you heal from the surgery, how the surgery affects your symptoms. If there is not a right or wrong way to manage your endometriosis symptoms, especially on this little corner of the internet, this little corner of YouTube, this Fanny community is a judgment-free zone. There are people that try hormonal options and it changes their life. There are people who don't want hormonal options. That's okay. Each option is okay. I think it's very difficult because sometimes you can be faced with people's opinions of what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and you have to do what's best for you. As long as everyone has all the options and knows everything so they have informed consent and can make the best decision for their bodies, that is all I hope for. Don't let anybody make you feel bad for what you're choosing to do to help manage your endometriosis symptoms. This is a good question to ask if you had surgery and no endometriosis was removed, if endometriosis was left behind on a particular organ or just in general, or if you had surgery with a general OBGYN and you want to see an endometriosis specialist. They might have contacts that they can refer you to. It could also be helpful to ask that if you had extrapelvic endometriosis. It's not always easy to be referred to a specialist, but they might know someone that is suitable for your case. Not all issues arise straight away. Some can happen months later. So you might have your follow-up 8 weeks out, 2 months out. That is 2 months, Sarah. 3 months out, or you may have it 6 weeks later. If you have any symptoms after that, it's obviously good to know who you would contact, if you could contact those directly. It's good to know if you think of any questions when you leave the appointment, who can you contact? Other questions that we can ask at your follow-up appointment, which obviously may or may not apply to you, are: who should I see if my endometriosis symptoms continue? So moving forward, if the surgery only works to a certain point, who do you then go see? Do you go see your surgeon again? Or do they recommend you should go see your GP? Do they recommend you should go see somebody else? How would I get a referral to a pain management clinic? Do you think it would be helpful? Some people do have success with pain management clinics, depending on who they are, their symptoms, etc. So that might be worth asking and getting their opinion on. How would I get a referral to a pelvic therapist if this is something I would like to explore? Again, this is a similar vibe. Some people go to pelvic floor therapy and have positive things to say, so that could be worth asking to get their opinion on that too. When can I return to work, daily activities, exercise, sex, etc.? Is there anything else that I need to know about my surgery? I think that is all the questions. If I do think of any more, I'll make a part 2 and I will also add them to the ebook, but I think that covers the majority of the follow-up appointment. So now we've covered the questions, let's do quickly a follow-up appointment checklist. Found out exactly what was done, reported any new symptoms since surgery, asked all the questions you needed to ask, understand the treatment plan should you be put on any symptom management options, discuss when your next appointment is, where you go from here, started the process to access a copy of your surgical notes, photos, or understand how to access them, know who to contact should you have any issues while still recovering from your surgery, know when you can go back to regular activities, sports, etc., addressed any other concerns. There we have a how to navigate your follow-up appointment. If you have any questions that I haven't covered in this video or that I can help answer, please comment them below and I'll get back to you. It can be such a challenging process and it's not easy to advocate for yourself and try and get all the details and find out what happened during your surgery. I wish you all the best with your follow-up appointment. I'm sending you a huge hug, so much love and lots of positive advocating vibes. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Stay fabulous and always fight for your Fanny. Love you.